Can you hear me, sir? Yeah, I can hear you. Hi, I'm calling. I'm right on the corner of Main Street by Moonflower, and we're driving by, and I'd like to report a domestic dispute. Florida with the white van, Florida license plate, white land, gentleman on 5-6 Deer. They just drove off. They're going down Main Street. They made a right onto Main Street from Moonflower.
Or what were they doing?
Cooperative, but what'd you say?
What were they doing?
We drove by and the gentleman was slapping the girl.
He was slapping her?
Yes, and then we stopped. They ran up and down the sidewalk. He proceeded to hit her, hopped in the car, and they drove off.
See, that's not what the first report said.
If he was slapping her, let's say he was slapping her.
Yeah.
Where was he slapping her at? And it doesn't make it, the type of questions he's asking. It doesn't sound like a 911 call.
Well, yeah, in the video it said that she was trying to get through the window. So they didn't play the whole.
So they were putting on a nice scene when the way they were fighting for him to call it in. That it was a domestic dispute. It wasn't just arguing, yelling, a little shoving. Because he said he pushed her to the police officer. So the police officers got this information saying that he was slapping her, but then they don't give him a ticket for speeding. They don't give him a ticket for hitting the curb. If this was true, if this is a real 911 call,
Well, Fox got it.
he goes to a motel,
Yeah.
and then she was being questioned as if she was going to get in trouble.
Right.
If she didn't answer that question properly, was she trying to cause him any harm?
Right.
What was her intention? But yet, the 911 call and the information they would have got for dispatch for
Yeah.
would have been he was the aggressor and he was hitting her.
That's what that said.
And then the cops saw buddy with him in the vehicle.
That's not what the cops said. They got a report on. They got a report of her they were arguing, and then her trying to get into the car through the window, and he was pushing her out.
So he did, okay, if this is true, let's say this is true,
Yeah.
and he was pushing her out, and
Yeah.
he was hitting her, and she's chasing him,
Yeah.
if it is true, then he did leave her there.
Alive?
I'm just saying he left her there when he came back. He probably wanted a reason possibly to come back and leave her there. He wanted to get away from her. Which he shouldn't have been with her.
What do you mean you shouldn't have been with her?
He had his reasoning for leaving was to help the dad with storage when he flew back.
Yeah. That's what I heard.
But yet what they're saying here is that he was slapping her and then she was trying to get in the car and he was going to leave her.
On the cop video, it didn't say he was slapping her.
But then the police get this information and they're not asking him any questions as if he was slapping her.
Right.
911 dispatch usually gives you all information of the phone call
Yeah.
to the police officers.
Yeah.
So whenever they went after him and pulled them over, they took her out of the seat, put her in the back of the police car, questioned her first, started speaking to him,
Yeah.
and then they didn't say anything to him that I heard of. I didn't listen to every word that was said. I'd have to sit there and listen and turn it loud.
Yeah.
They didn't bring up anything about him slapping her and her going through the window or him slapping her at all with the 911 call. If you call in anything to a police officer, if it's a police officer you're calling it into, the information that you're giving to the police officers is the information you got for the reason to go after the individuals or individual, suspect, or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
So they didn't talk about any of that when they pulled them over. They acted like she was the aggressor. He did have a scratch on his face,
Yeah, he had a few scratches. That might be why. Yeah.
but they didn't know about that yet because they couldn't see into the vehicle and see the scratch. And then right? I know.
Yeah.
And then he was speeding. You said 40 and a 25, which is not a big deal to me. I mean,
He
curves.
was going 45.
Okay, it depends what he was doing on the highway.
Yeah.
A lot of people will go 40 for those 25-mile-an-hour curves. A lot of people do that. A lot of people do. It's dangerous, especially if you're arguing, but a lot of people do that. But for that not to be brought up during the recording is very strange to me.
What not being brought up?
That he was slapping her and she was trying to climb in through the window, or he was being aggressive prior to, because they're questioning her.
He said he was pushing her. Her face was going in, and he was pushing her face out of the car. That's what he said.
But this is the call that called in that got the reason why the police officer got dispatched.
So I think Fox got this. I don't know.
Okay,
If it's real.
if it is,
Yeah.
the officers would have got that information, and he wouldn't have been treated so respectfully, as if he's the one that can press charges on her.
Right.
They weren't talking to her as if, do you want to press charges on him? It was him on her.
Right.
So he was the victim. Whenever they questioned them, he was the one that was considered the victim.
Yes.
She could be a Class B misdemeanor,
Right.
not Class A,
I can pour this out.
but Class B. Yeah,
Right.
doesn't make any sense to me. If it's both of them, then you can't say, well, he started it or she started it,
Yeah.
because they're both equally at fault.
Right. They never mentioned that they were both.
But the police officers were automatically going for her when she's just a little girl.
You didn't take that. I know.
I don't really mean little, but she's a young lady.
She's a baby. 22.
22, she's a young lady. She just became an adult just in the past few years. And they're not speaking about that. That doesn't make any logical sense to me.
But
That's why I say something was strange about them recording them. Because when he got dispatched and this phone call seems just a little bit, the way he's asking, I mean, listen.
Not everything can be suspicious.
Hi, I'm calling. I'm right on the corner of Main Street by Moonflower, and we're driving by, and I'd like to report a domestic dispute. Florida with the white van, Florida license plate, white land, gentleman,
Where's it at?
560. They just drove off. They're going down Main Street. They made a right onto Main Street from Moonflower.
Or what were they doing?
Cooperative, but what'd you say?
What were they doing?
We drove by, and the gentleman was slapping the girl.
He was slapping her?
Yes, and then we stopped. They ran up and down the sidewalk. He proceeded to hit her, hopped in the car, and they drove off.
Okay, so if this is a real phone call and the way he responded, he was slapping her like he's surprised. This is a 911 call,
Yeah.
and the man is acting like he's surprised on a phone call that a man's smacking a woman. If you're a dispatch for 911 like Summer's brother is, you get a lot of different phone calls. So you're used to a lot of this stuff.
This is Utah.
But you still get phone calls for dispatch.
Yeah.
You don't sound surprised on it, and even if it is true, and the surprise isn't a surprise, and he's just responding
Yeah.
in a way so he has to repeat it.
Right.
Slapping her?
Yeah. It's a small town.
And
I'm telling
then,
you.
so whenever they got dispatched and they went after the vehicle,
Yeah.
he's the one that should have got out of the vehicle and went to the back seat. Because he didn't say anything about her doing anything.
No.
They were talking about
him.
him being
We
aggressive.
didn't hear the whole thing. They didn't give us the whole thing. They only gave us half of it.
They only gave us half of it. But they said they drove by and he was slapping her.
Yeah. But then on the cop, they said, the police report said that she was the aggressor. I don't know. It's just bits. It's coming out.
From what I'm hearing from this is the full phone call of the 911 call.
No, you didn't hear him hang up or anything.
Hold on 1 second. No, let's listen to it one more time.
County Sheriff's Office.
That's the phone call being answered.
Hi, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, I'm calling. I'm right on the corner of Main Street by Moonflower, and we're driving by, and I'd like to report a domestic dispute. Florida with the Florida license plate, white land, gentleman,
Where's it at?
5'6" deer. They just drove off. They're going down Main Street. They made a right onto Main Street from
Where's it at?
Moonflower.
Or what were they
The
doing?
cooperative, but what'd you say?
What were they doing?
Cut him off during giving him the
We drove
license
by,
plate.
The gentleman was slapping the girl.
He was slapping her?
Yes, and then we stopped. They ran up and down the sidewalk. He proceeded to hit her, hopped in the car, and they drove off.
They ran up and down the sidewalk and he was slapping her.
Yeah,
And then they drove off and he was following them and he was given the license plate.
yeah,
And then he told them where they were at, Main Street and the other street.
yeah.
And then he cut him off during the license plate.
I think they just edited that out.
Okay, maybe they did.
Yeah,
But it sounded like he cut him off. Where were they at?
no, edit it. No, I think the boyfriend did it.
Like I said, either he's running because he's scared because he's being blamed for it. And he didn't do it. Or he's running because he's scared because he did do it. But this 911 call didn't even sound like it made sense to me. Being that they're so professional with the recording of the GoPros, but they're not very good with the phone call of the 911. So the professional recording with the GoPro he had on, muting it, timing it out, the way he was talking like he knew psychology. The other cop came in like he knew psychology. The other ones are standing around, recording everything they're doing. And then a 911 phone call, they answer it like, hello, this is Utah.
Yeah.
What's going on? What?
It's a small
Can you
town.
repeat that again? If you don't sound like me, I don't understand you.
Yeah.
You're speaking too southern.
Utah.
What you doing? Was it a vehicle they're in? What color did you say it was? I heard the word what? White? Can you spell that out for me so I make sure I got the right color? That's the way he's sounding to me.
Yeah.
But the recording's professional.
Well, it didn't sound like a regular 911. You could tell it's a small town. 911.
And they got GoPros. We got 911. What's your emergency?
He didn't say 911. What's your emergency?
No, he did not say that.
Because it's a small town.
But the recording's professional.
Yeah.
So these either not the real 911 phone call, or if it is the real 911 phone call,
Well, Fox. This is Fox News.
they're saying they were running up and down the sidewalks and he was being the aggressor. So you go after him, you don't go after her.
Yeah. You think the cops are going to get sued? Because they knew they if this is true and they didn't arrest him for it and he kills her, you think the parents are going to sue them?
If I'm with, what we say and what we do are two totally different things. If I say I'm going to do something to you, I'm going to smack you in the face.
Yeah.
As long as I don't smack you, I can say what I want. That's freedom of speech. I can say whatever I want to, but it's the moment I lay my hands on you which changes
Well, I
everything.
can say what I want to a cop, but I can't threaten them.
Right. You can tell him you can put a shoe in his ass if he doesn't get away from you. I'm going to punch you in the head if you're breaking the law. You can say what you want to anybody you want at all.
I can say fuck you, you pig, but I can't say
See, to me, it's just disrespectful. You show police officers respect.
can't threaten.
But you can say whatever you want to anybody.
Yeah, but you can't threaten. I think there is a code.
When it comes to a relationship,
Yes.
a significant other or your children, you can threaten them any way you want.
Relation-
I'm gonna throw you in the fire tonight if your son, if you don't, I'm gonna throw you in the fireplace if you don't take your bath when I get home. We talk like that to our kids. And our significant others, when we're in relationships, sometimes we say things we don't mean because we're angry.
Yeah.
Relationships, most people say things they don't mean. So when it comes to a police officer, no, you shouldn't threaten them, but you can tell them to F off.
Yeah. You can tell them to fuck off.
There's certain things you can get away with and tell them to get away from you. There's certain things you can. There's some things you wouldn't say.
You can't run. Is that a threat? If it's a threat, they can arrest you.
I want to go with yeah. If you threaten a police officer, sure, yeah, you can. If it's a police officer, because there's no relationship there, but it's a police officer of law. So yeah, typically don't threaten them.
Right.
I agree with that one.
Yeah.
But it's a relationship,
Yeah.
and they had signs of violence, of being violent with each other.
Yeah.
So it's both of them.
Yeah.
And then when it was called in, he was the aggressor. So the information that goes into the computer when they get dispatched is he's the aggressor, not her. And then he's the driver, and he's the one speeding, and he's the one hitting a curb. And then she's the one that's asked to get out and go in the back seat. That doesn't make any logical sense to me. But no, you shouldn't threaten a police officer.
No.
No.
But that's not what the cop said when he pulled him over.
It's respect. They're of authority. You're not supposed to threaten them, but you tell them to piss off.
Yeah, you can say "fuck you, pig." So
I
it's
wouldn't
not-
even say that. I don't even feel
know
right
that.
saying
I
that.
know that, but my auditors do that.
Because if there's no law and there's no order with law, then
Yeah, but the cops got it wrong.
dispatch information
The
goes.
cops believed him and her, what they told.
No, they automatically, when they walked up to the vehicle, they already said it was her, basically.
Yeah,
Okay,
but that's not what 911 said.
that's not what 911 said. So
No.
something's wrong with that.
Yeah, unless it's not the whole thing,
So that's a red flag. And then the recording is so good.
or he didn't want to tell him that he hit her.
She didn't say anything about that either.
No, well, some girls don't. I never read.
No, autism to me, you can be intelligent in many things and not be very smart in other things.
Yeah,
Both of them seem a little autistic to me. But they were being too friendly with him,
yeah.
and they weren't being too nice to her.
Well, a psychiatrist went over the tape and he said it seemed like they were just arguing. He could tell that she was upset over something, but he doesn't believe that she was up. Why was she still crying and being upset?
A psychiatrist usually prescribes drugs. They're not psychologists.
No, who's a psychiatrist? He said that she seemed upset over something. He said people with OCD are not dangerous. So just because she had OCD, why was she hitting him?
Well, it has nothing to do with anything that she's diagnosed with. If she's dangerous, they hurt each other when they're arguing.
I don't know. Hitting each other just seems crazy.
They get violent with each other.
Not even Chuck was like that. Chuck would scare the piss out of me.
But no, I don't believe in any of that. That you should threaten a police officer. You shouldn't. I don't even really tell them. I don't do that.
No, I
I'm
know
usually
that.
respectful.
Yeah.
But when you're in relationships, it's different way than everything else.
Yeah, he did.
Because when you're sexual with somebody, you can bring out the worst in them or the best in them because you have a sexual relationship.
Right.
With your kids, you say things just to be jokingly scary, or you're just joking with them. So you say things that you don't mean to your children, which I never talk like that, but I know parents that have.
I never did that.
You know, you just, anyways.
I did everything myself.
But when it comes to relationships,
Yeah. Well, maybe yours. You had a few toxic ones, honey.
everybody can say things they don't mean with an elevated emotion.
Yes, that's your point. Yes.
Everybody can say things they
Yeah.
don't mean, but it's what they do.
Yeah.
If I'm under a state of panic and worry,
Yeah.
I'm going to say things that I wouldn't normally mean if I was in an elevated
Right.
elevated mood.
Right. Right.
Like with Summer,
Yeah. Yeah.
with her 24/7 for 1.8 years.
Yeah. Did you write everything down?
Yeah. Then we don't speak. I'm worried about her.
Yeah.
She doesn't respond.
Yeah. You wrote that down.
Wrote 2 letters to her. Sent her a cell phone. Parents don't take good care of her. They let her wander the street at 3 in the morning because she's a 39-year-old
When you were
woman.
at the court, you wrote all this down.
It's in the phone. It's all in the phone. I wrote it all up.
Oh, I thought you had
But what
to
I'm
write
trying
it
to
for your lawyer.
no, the lawyer didn't even want to use anything. She was trying to tell me I can't read anything in the courthouse. You're not allowed to read a statement. You can refresh your memory, She's not trying, she's an assistant public attorney. She's not trying to help me. She's like, well, he wants to move to dismiss it. She actually said that to the judge. She nudged toward me with her head. She's like, he wants to move to dismiss it.
Who does?
Me. I was already with the case that has to do with me.
Right.
They didn't even have a lawyer.
Who have a lawyer?
Summer and her family. They didn't even have a lawyer.
I thought
And they walk in there and try to walk with me when I'm standing in the courthouse.
They were there when you were there?
Yeah.
Oh my
They try to
God.
walk in there and walk with me when I'm in there and walk out with me.
Why were they there?
I don't know.
They're wanting to pursue this?
They were wanting to pursue. Yeah. Summer nodded her head. She looked at me smiling. Summer, I understand. She has multiple personality disorder and she doesn't remember everything. She has Sunglass Girl, Ditzy Girl, and she has Summer. You can tell the difference. When she has her sunglasses on, she uses different terminology of words than when she's Ditzy Girl and she's like,
So they were there?
they were there. But anyways,
You might need to hire a lawyer.
no, I'm not even bothering with it after what she said. That's not what they want. Anyways, what I'm saying is, though, people say things in relationships being moods, to be in elevated moods. You can say what you want. Everybody says things. Like when you're in a relationship and you get comfortable, you tend to say things you don't mean more and more the more you pass a certain line. The more you're comfortable in a relationship, you'll say more things. And if it's a violent relationship, you tend to get more violent with each other. You'll draw a line where you'll stop with the violence, but usually it can escalate. It can get worse what you do to the other.
But nobody should be violent anymore. This is what happens.
Well, he can't get away from her. She'd chase him. He can't get away from her
Yeah.
because he's pushing her. He's slapping her. Can't get away from her, and she could tell that she didn't want him to get away from her because she wanted to stay with him. He might have drove her crazy. He didn't seem stupid to me. She's a little ditzy, but she's not an idiot.
You think you're going to get off this one? This charge?
Mine's because you don't like to hear it. Mine's because of the Illuminati.
Are you going to get off the
The
charge?
lawyer even said to me, they don't want that.
Who doesn't want that?
She's used the word they don't want that to be dismissed.
The family doesn't want to
The actual attorney, because she's an assistant, walked right up to her and said, it's just easier if we just dismiss this case right now. And I'm looking at him like, yeah, it'd be better if we just dismissed it. Don't you think? He's like, yeah.
Put a restraining order on you.
That's what you're supposed to do first in this world. Because people that say things or people that you feel are a threat to you, you do a trespassing warrant or you do a restraining order.
Yeah.
That's what you do. But not when you're dealing with police officers that are dirty. Color of law is in place, 241 and 242, for a reason.
In the first place, why didn't they just do a restraining order? Why try to get you in jail?
I understand why they did it, why they pressed for it. I mean, if you read the first letter, Summer even wrote down, I did a welfare check for God's sakes to check on her twice. First time I did the welfare check, they actually put their phones off the hook at the 3rd or 4th precinct in whichever one I called. They wouldn't answer the phones. Told me to call back in an hour. They wouldn't answer.
I wouldn't either. Go ahead.
They wouldn't answer. Welfare check, you can do it on friends or family.
Yeah.
You don't involve welfare checks, you don't involve the police if you're going to do something evil or do something wrong to another individual. You don't involve the police to check on the individual to make sure they're okay for one. You don't do that. Nobody would do that.
Okay.
Even a crackhead wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Anyways, I understand what's happening to me with both cases. I understand. But she's dead.
I thought the case was going to be dropped. I didn't think they would show up. Remember we said we didn't think they were going to show up. Summer went to a courthouse.
Yeah, she didn't say anything. She just nodded her head.
Nodded her
I
head.
didn't even want to look at her.
Nodded her
I'm
head.
over
What?
that.
What did they ask her?
He said, do you want to pursue this case? She's like,
Wow.
the dad walking out down the stairs, he almost walked into a wall. Didn't know he was like he's going senile. He almost walked into a wall. And then the brother puts his finger up at me, going down the escalator.
Get a lawyer.
When they put me in jail for those 10 days, they let me take one shower. And they were letting everybody else take a shower. They're breaking laws all through that place. Opening the doors with the cards. The guard would look in to see if the guy that's in there, that's in the jail cell, if he's done doing what he's doing, giving his sandwich to the other individual, moving around the phones. They got a bunch of illegal stuff going on in that jail.
I understand that, but it's a misdemeanor. A lawyer won't cost that much to get. I paid $700 your last lawyer.
I know you don't believe me, but if it wasn't color of law wasn't involved, it would have been dismissed.
It's not going to be dismissed because they want to pursue it.
Nothing was said about Summer. It doesn't have anything to do with her. Even if I did say something out of the 700 messages I sent, or the 20 phone calls, the voicemails that I left, and the 200 or 300 times I called to try to see if she's okay, 99.9999999% of them, are you okay? So a quick text message of we're not together no more, or I'm okay, is very simple to do. But I know how her mom and dad is because they stole her house. And I know the way they treat her. They don't watch her.
Doesn't matter.
She goes catatonic and she starts blinking rapidly and she can fall to the ground.
It's how you look to the court. It's not how she looks.
He knows, the judge knows it's not true, and so did the lawyer. She actually said in front of me, she's asking me what was going on sitting in the room with me. I almost fired her, which I should have fired her.
You just said she didn't ask you anything.
She was asking me questions and I was explaining it to her. And then I was talking about, I already have a statement. Oh, if you say anything in that court, he could give you more jail time.
Mike, you need to get your lawyer.
And then the lawyer walks in, the real lawyer, when we walk out, they kept opening the door when I'm talking to the assistant. And I said, do you know what a malicious prosecution act is? She's like, I don't know what that is. I'm like, you don't know what a malicious prosecution act is, but your magistrate does. What's it for? I don't know. And then they kept opening the door while I'm in there with her, looking in, smiling at me. And then I go out there, and then the real lawyer walks around and just looks at her and says, I would like to have this. I think we should just move to dismissal with this. That's what I think we should. And I looked at him and said, yeah, we should just move to dismissal with this. It's stupid. And he's like, yeah, he nodded his head. He's like, yeah, we should. And then she looks at him and she says, it's not what they want.
Who said that?
That's what the assistant lawyers.
Not your lawyer.
My lawyer said that.
That's not what they...
Correct. That's what she said. And that's not what they want.
No, I believe that because she's your lawyer. Why
No,
would she speak for
she's
them?
not even writing down the things I'm telling her to say. Because the whole point of going in front of a judge is to prove your innocence from something that you say you did or something that somebody's saying you did.
Right.
So common sense says if somebody calls a welfare check, sends a cell phone, and sends a letter to the parents and to Summer to make sure they're okay and what's going on.
Why don't you get a free consultation on the phone with the lawyer over there?
No.
No? Okay.
I'm not even gonna show up.
Yeah, you have to show up because I'm on a bond.
I don't need to show up.
Yeah, you do.
I'm
There's
not
nothing
playing
on-
Illuminati laws anymore.
There's nothing
They're
on the
killing
docket.
girls they're killing girls and
There's
getting away with
nothing on
it.
the docket.
Putting angel wings and butterflies up.
You're going to get in trouble.
They can kiss my
I have a
fucking
bond.
ass.
I have a bond.